Fans of dungeon crawl hack and slash RPGs should feel right at home with the Vita launch title Dungeon Hunter Alliance. Now, the first thing I want to do though is get the obvious right out of the way, and that is Dungeon Hunter Alliance on the Vita is a port of a PlayStation 3 downloadable game, Dungeon Hunter Alliance. Yes, this is the same game that is available on the PSN store right now for $13. So you're going to be paying a premium to buy the Vita version, which currently at retail sells for $40. It's a bit of a high price considering that you're getting a port of last year's PSN title. However, this is still a pretty good game. It does have some huge glaring problems, however, but if you're one of those fans of dungeon crawl games like this, where you just go into the dungeons, you hack and you slash, you get experience, you level up, you increase your stats, and then you can put some points in the skill points on a semi-skill tree, and then you get new loot, you go to the towns, you sell the loot that you don't need, get money, buy new gear, rinse and repeat. I mean, this game has the staples of any kind of RPG that is in this genre, in that, you know, you have the color-coded loot, so you have your rare items, your common items, your super rare items, you have your bosses at the end of dungeons, and then you have your main hub world, your main towns in the game, where you go to get quests from NPCs. And unfortunately, the quests in Dungeon Hunter Alliance are pretty boring. There's not too much to them. Usually it just involves going into a dungeon, killing a certain amount of enemies, or finding an item, reporting back to the NPC, and getting your quest reward and your money and your experience. The thing is, though, most people that play these kind of games don't really care too much about story and the quest. It's all about the grind, leveling up your character, spending hours upon hours, you know, killing waves and waves of enemies. And the best part is, you can go online with the Vita and play with up to 3 other people, and that is definitely the saving grace of this game, but that's also one of the biggest downfalls. First of all, there's 3 different character classes that you can choose from. There's your warrior, your rogue, and your mage. Once you've picked your character class, you can further enhance your character in different ways, such as myself, where I played the warrior as my first character, and there's different ways you can skill them up. I like to play support role type characters, so my warrior specializes in buffing my party members, buffing their attack, their speed, their defense, and a lot of other warriors in the game tend to specialize in raw, damage. And that's their choice, so there is a lot of customization within the character class that you pick depending upon how you skill up your character. You can import your single-player character into the online mode and vice versa, so there's no restrictions on the items that you get crossing over into online and offline mode. And anytime that you play in an online game with any other host, the great part is that you can search for rooms and specify that you'd like to find rooms that are on the same quest area as you, so that the progress that you make in somebody else's room carries right over to your single and multiplayer games. And while it is a lot of fun, that's definitely the biggest highlight in this game, is getting online with 3 other people and just, trumping the bosses, getting new gear, leveling up, increasing your skill points, and just watching all the chaos on screen. That's also the biggest downfall with Dungeon Hunter Alliance, because when you do have 4 people online, as well as 3, and even sometimes 2, the frame rate slows to almost unplayable levels. In the single player, there is some slowdown when there's a lot of enemies on screen. However, this is very apparent in the online mode. And this is true for, I'd say, 80% of the rooms. Very few rooms that I get and run at a steady pace. Most of the time, there's really bad frame rate issues. And while it is still playable, it's not quite as enjoyable, because it's so hard to tell what's going on screen when there's so many enemies, different spell effects, enemies all grouped up together. It's so hard to tell what you're doing and what's going on, and who's where, and even though your characters have a color code underneath them, it's still very easy to lose track of where you are on screen. In terms of the online user interface, there are preset messages that you can use, which use emotions to tell people, to follow you this way, or if you need potions, or assist me, or hello, goodbye, stuff like that. And then there's also a built-in in-game chat keyboard. However, there's no voice chat built into the game. You do have to use the Vita's built-in party chat function, which involves adding people to your friends list. However, Dungeon Hunter Alliance realizes this and has some very easy options for inviting your friends and viewing your invitations from friends, so it makes it pretty easy to group up and play online. So what did they exactly add to the Vita version from the PS3 version that's different? Well, it has some Vita functionalities, such as being able to use the rear touch panel to move your fairy around, who acts as your cursor to show where you want to use your big powerful magic attacks, as well as find hidden items. You can zoom the camera in and out on the single-player mode with multi-touch on the front screen, and to shake your Vita in order to revive characters online and break stun locks from enemy attacks. So in the end, the answer is no, they really didn't do too much to enhance this port over to the Vita to justify the increased price. However, I would only recommend this to really hardcore fans that understand this genre of games and just the fun of grinding online with other players and just getting that next best piece of gear and increasing your level. If you're not really into these types of games, I'd definitely say wait for a price drop, because quite frankly this is not a graphical showpiece for the Vita. Even beyond the frame rate, the graphics are very unremarkable. The textures are pretty low, especially up close during the story cutscenes, which, by the way, the story, yeah, it's not interesting at all. And music-wise, music is pretty good. It's your typical epic style, fair fantasy music. But beyond that, Dungeon Hunter Alliance really doesn't do anything different to set itself apart from other games in the hack-and-slash RPG genre. But then again, does it really have to, because this is a proven formula and fans of this type of game will definitely appreciate what's at hand here. It's just unfortunate that there's some technical limitations that really set it back. But if you can look past those, I think you're going to enjoy your time online with Dungeon Hunter Alliance for the PlayStation Vita.